So here we are. We're here today for scholarships, okay, the scholarships from the Inns of Court. So first of all, you might be wondering, well, what are the Inns of Court? Okay, there are 4 Inns of Court. They serve very, very important functions in the education of barristers. Okay, they really date back sort of 15th, 16th century, so they are almost prehistoric, if you like, institutions. Okay, they are known as Middle Temple, Lincoln's Inn, Gray's Inn, and Inner Temple. Okay, they all have their own distinct sort of personalities, if you like. Perhaps some of you have been to an inn. There may be 1 or 2 who are members of inns. You can go onto all of their websites. You can read up about them. I'm going to take you through some brief statistics, but they're really going to focus on the statistics in terms of the scholarships, etc. So please do, in your spare time, go on and have a look at the inns. Okay. I should say that each inn has its own list of very, very prestigious members. Okay. There will be current Supreme Court justices who are members of perhaps Middle Temple or Gray's Inn. A current example, okay, Baroness Lady Hale, the current president of the Supreme Court, is a member of Gray's Inn, okay? I am also a member of Gray's Inn, okay? So I am on that list of very, very prestigious people, okay? Yes, I did just put myself on a pedestal with Baroness Lady Hale, okay? So what are the types of scholarships which these inns award, okay? They award scholarships for your GDL. So perhaps you're here, you're non-law, you need to do the GDL. We do obviously provide the GDL here at the University of Law, and inns do sponsor that, okay? Primarily tonight we'll be focusing on the BPTC. Okay, some of you may be aware the BPTC is changing its name to the BPC. Don't worry about that too much, okay? The content is vastly remaining the same. That's really the focus of tonight's talk, okay, on the BPTC and the scholarships in which they offer. I've included on there that they do offer pupillage award top-ups. Okay, pupillages really do range in terms of how much money they offer. Some top sets will offer 60, 70, maybe even £80,000 a year, okay? One of my friends has actually bagged one of them. I'm sure he's a very, very happy man. Okay, but they really do then go right down almost to £12,000, £13,000 a year, okay? And if you are on a lower end pupillage award, okay, the inns will top that up for you. They're not so generous that if you're fortunate enough to be on an £80,000 scholarship, they'll make that to £95,000, okay? But, you know, you might want to try that. Again, they do offer post-BPTC travel internships and bursaries. We won't focus on that tonight. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, okay? But you should be aware that they do also offer things like that. So when you choose your inn, what are the types of things that you may consider? Well, here are a list of some of the things which you may consider, okay? You may consider the history of the inn. As I've said, all of these inns go back hundreds of years, okay? They all have their own distinct sort of historical memories, members, etc. Okay, so you might be someone who's really, really interested in that, okay? And you might consider that. The previous members, okay? Mahatma Gandhi was a member of Inner Temple, for example. That might persuade you. I don't know. Perhaps that persuades you to join that inn, okay? Also look for current members. I mentioned earlier that Baroness Hale was a member of Gray's Inn, okay? It is not uncommon for students to be dining in Gray's Inn and for her to walk into a qualifying session or something like that, okay? So you might want to look at the list of members they have. If you're very much into your food, okay, you may consider the food which they offer. That always gets a bit of a laugh because, you know, food is a funny thing to consider when choosing an inn. I wouldn't place too much emphasis on that, okay? But you might consider the food. International aspect, certain inns have very strong ties to certain countries around the world, okay? So some inns are quite strong ties with Commonwealth countries, for example. And even within the United Kingdom, some inns, Gray's, are known for being particularly strong with Welsh candidates, okay? Now, I say that as a Welshman myself. That may put you off from going to Gray's Inn, okay? So please be aware that it is known as an inn which Welsh people like to consider, okay? The arts, finally, I'm sure we've probably got some people who are very much into their theatre. A little secret of mine, okay, I was once Danny Zuko, believe it or not. I had greased back hair, okay? So you may consider the arts. They do all host their own sort of shows and Christmas shows or things like that, and that might be something that interests you. Now, much more important for you to focus on is this list here, okay? And really, the first and last point are the most important, okay? The scholarship application criteria. Each one has very, very similar application criteria, but there are some differences, and you can go on their websites and look them up. I'm going to talk to you really tonight about the generic scholarship application criteria, but do be aware that each inn might look for just slightly different things. Where your friends go. Okay, I always perhaps laugh at this one. You might choose that you actually don't want to go where your friends go. They might not really be your friends, for example. Okay, so you might want to go somewhere where nobody else goes, okay? And some students like to do that. They feel that that will perhaps push them out of their comfort zone. So please do just consider that as well. Early access to opportunities such as mooting or mentoring, okay? All of the inns are very, very good at offering opportunities for you to engage in things like mooting and mentoring. But please do go online, have a look at perhaps specifically what they're offering, and then, factor that into your decision, okay? All of these things look really, really good on your CV, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. The location itself, all of the inns are here in London, okay? So for those two ladies who have travelled down from Liverpool, you're not going to be able to join an inn in Liverpool, unfortunately. So you will have to join an inn, okay, here in London. But perhaps you might want to look specifically where the inn is located, okay? For example, Lincoln's Inn itself has many chancery sets. So do think about the location of the inn. This final one is definitely the most important, okay? I'm going to talk about all of their specific application forms, but be aware that all of their application forms differ slightly. And you might look at that application form and think, actually, that one really, really suits me, and that one doesn't, okay? That is by far the most important point that I would make tonight, okay, whether or not the application form suits you. Okay, so a little bit about Gray's Inn then. There's just some very brief points about Gray's Inn, okay? Gray's Inn is known as quite a small inn, 5,500 members, 300 students, okay? It has a scholarship pot of £1.2 million. Okay, not all of that is focused on the BPTC. Okay, that goes a bit to GDL and things like that, but a pot of £1.2 million. Gray's Inn offers residential scholarships. Not all of the inns do that, okay? Gray's Inn requires 2 referees. This is 1 professional and 1 academic. There is on Gray's Inn website a big long list of what will qualify as a professional referee, etc. So please go online. I'm sure you'll know someone who is a professional referee, and obviously an academic referee could be a tutor, a teacher, or something like that. Gray's Inn, and this is probably the most important point on this slide, operates a paper sift. Okay, essentially what that means is that when you fire off your application to Gray's Inn, somebody, a barrister, will read that application and will decide whether or not to invite you to an interview. Okay, not all of the inns do that. Now, I include this paper sift on there because if you are a candidate who thinks that they are very, very strong on paper, perhaps you've got an outstanding CV already, you may want to consider applying for a scholarship at an inn which operates a paper sift, okay? Because by the time you get to an interview, you have already been narrowed down from everybody else, okay? Again, on the flip side of that, of course, I would say that if perhaps you're reading this tonight and you're thinking that you're not quite where you'd like to be in terms of your CV, you may look at one of the inns that doesn't operate a paper sift, okay? Gray's Inn, again, this is the same actually for all inns, but I have included it on each PowerPoint in case people wanted to take photos, etc. Scholarship is awarded on merit alone, okay? No inn is going to give you a scholarship based on your socio-economic background. It is solely based on merit. Once they have decided to award you a scholarship, they may then take into account your financial need, okay? But the actual awarding of a scholarship is only done on merit. Lincoln's Inn. Lincoln's Inn is the largest inn by some way, okay? You can compare that to Gray's Inn with 5,000 members, 23,000 members, okay? 800 current students. Again, Lincoln's Inn has residential scholarships, so if that's something that interests you, you may consider Gray's Inn, and it has a large scholarship pot of £1.7 million. Again, it's 2 references, very, very similar to Gray's. Okay, and again, Lincoln's Inn does operate a paper sift. So bear in mind all of the information I just told you about paper sifts, etc. I've mentioned this is the same for all the inns, okay? Again, scholarship awarded on merit alone, and then financial need is considered. Middle Temple. Middle Temple, again, is one of the smaller inns. 5,000 members, a very, very similar size to Gray's Inn, okay? No residential scholarships available here at Middle Temple, with a scholarship pot of £1.3 million available. References, there's no specification on the website for references, okay? And Middle Temple interviews every single scholarship applicant, okay? That must be some challenge for them. If I'm honest with you, I really don't know how they manage that, but they do, okay? They will interview every single scholarship applicant. I have included on there the dates of interview. I thought that might be some quite useful information, because you may look at that date and realise, I don't know, that you've booked a holiday with your boyfriend and girlfriend, so you can't actually make that date, okay? So please do consider that date. The 15th, 16th and 17th of April 2020 is when this inn will be carrying out their interviews. Again, scholarship awarded purely on merit, okay? There's not going to be a change there. Your financial need is then considered. So the final inn, okay, Inner Temple, 8,000 members at Inner Temple. It's slightly larger than Gray's, okay, with 300 students. Again, no residential scholarships here, and a pot of £1.8 million available. Okay, that is a very, very large pot. Not to sound like I'm an auctioneer up here, but that is quite sizable, okay? 2 references, and again, they interview all applicants, okay? They do state on their website that this is their intention, so there's a bit of a word of warning there. Last year, they did interview all applicants, okay? But they state that it's always their intention to do so, okay? But I would perhaps issue a word of warning that that might mean that they don't interview every single one. Okay, paper application has been open a very long time. That's true for all of the inns, okay? So you can go online right away and look up the application. Okay. A handy comparison then, if you're perhaps still undecided about, if you're still a little bit undecided about which one, okay, you can go on to chamberstudent.co.uk and have a look. That will give you a very, very handy comparison of the inns, okay? Just an example there, it gives you perhaps the precise amounts of money that each inn offers for their specific scholarships. Okay. This is a very, very broad brush, okay, criteria of what the inns are looking for when they award scholarships. Please do feel free to take a photo of this page, okay? If I'm in it, I better look handsome, okay? So intellectual ability first. How do we demonstrate intellectual ability? The number one way in which you can demonstrate your intellectual ability is through your grades, okay? I get asked tons and tons of questions about how important are grades, etc. Okay, I'm going to give you an honest answer. Grades are important. If they weren't important, we wouldn't measure them, okay? So grades are by far the best way for you to demonstrate your intellectual ability. They are not the sole way in which you can demonstrate your intellectual ability, okay? You can demonstrate your intellectual ability when you have provided outstanding analytical ability. So think about moments in your life, perhaps, when you have demonstrated that. When have you demonstrated outstanding written communication? That might be through something such as a dissertation or something like that. It might be through a paid position. Okay, but times when you have demonstrated outstanding written communication. Any extracurricular involvements? You know, sometimes perhaps I meet a student who's sort of flown Eurofighter jets. Okay, it's taken him 8 years to achieve these qualifications. Okay, that is an outstanding extracurricular activity that he has had to pass, or she has had to pass many, many tests in order to get there. So that can then again start to demonstrate outstanding intellectual ability. Finally, any research projects or perhaps publications, things like that. Have you had any of them? Second of all is your motivation. This is really crucial, especially when you come to designing your CV, okay, your motivation for studying the career at the bar. You will all have trigger experiences throughout your life that have brought you into this room today, okay? There will be something that has made everybody consider a career at the bar. If you weren't considering a career at the bar, you wouldn't be sat here today. Alternatively, of course, you could be, because we have had to move a lecture last minute to get this room. So if you are in the wrong room, you're free to leave at any moment. Don't be embarrassed. Okay, but we will all have our own reasons for being here. So think about what they are. What knowledge of the actual profession do you have? The way in which law works in everyday life, okay, when real life people are involved, is very, very different to how you read it in a textbook. Okay, so what knowledge of the actual profession do you have? And how do we demonstrate that? Okay, well, the easiest way for us to demonstrate knowledge of the bar is through mini pupilages. Could we have a rough show of hands of some people conducted mini pupilages in this room? Okay, excellent, that's a fair amount, okay? If you haven't, hopefully you know the process. I will tell you it anyway, okay? You go on directly onto Chambers' websites. They will have a little section there titled Recruitment. Click on that recruitment and they will spell out an application procedure for a mini pupillage. It will usually be simply sending off a cover letter, okay, and your CV. So please do go and seek mini pupillages, etc. They are great on your CV. Networking. What networking events have you demonstrated, okay? Have you built connections, etc. within the legal world? Sitting in court. Have you marshalled perhaps a judge? Have you worked for a solicitor's, which has involved you attending court with a client, okay? All of these start to demonstrate real-life knowledge of the profession. Finally, any paid employment or pro bono work you may have done. Pro bono is very, very in at the moment, okay? It looks great on your CV. So please, if you haven't done any pro bono work, after today, go and seek some out, okay? It's generally, students can get their hands on pro bono pretty quickly, and it's something that a lot of chambers and the inns are looking for. Advocacy potential, oral advocacy, like the type I'm giving now, okay? Mooting is by far, in my opinion, the best way for you to demonstrate oral advocacy. Mooting, essentially, is the closest that you can get to actually performing as if you were a barrister without being a barrister. Chambers, inns of courts, the lot, okay? They absolutely love it on your application. So again, if you perhaps know a local mooting society, if your university runs one, you should be signing up right away. Any debating, perhaps you're interested in politics, things like that, often students are, so again, think about times when you have debated. Written advocacy. A large proportion of what a barrister does in terms of advocacy is written advocacy, okay? Be that sending letters to clients, okay, drafting documents, writing opinions for solicitors. Actually, probably the majority of the advocacy they deliver is written. The application itself will serve as your written advocacy, so please do spend a lot of time on it. Times when you've had to perhaps stick to your guns, argue your corner, perhaps you've sat on a committee, okay, which has involved you putting forward your ideas against other people, okay, they are all opportunities for you to demonstrate those final 3 points. Your personal qualities, that is by no means an exhaustive list of personal qualities that you need to thrive at the bar. Okay, whether or not you know this or not, barristers are governed by rules and regulations, okay, and they are absolutely vital for us in practice. Your integrity is vital as a barrister, and the inns will want you to demonstrate this and your knowledge of this, okay, on your application form. So please try and pick out instances when you have demonstrated some of those qualities. Okay, so when is the deadline? Very soon, quite frankly. Friday, the 1st of November. I don't know, is it the 17th today? It's the 17th. Okay, so you don't have long, 2 weeks. So please, start tomorrow morning or even start tonight writing your application, okay? They do take a very, very long time. If you're sat here non-law, I'm not sure if we have any, perhaps you have a friend who's considering the GDL. The application for the GDL scholarship is Friday the 1st of May 2020. These dates are the same for all inns, okay? None of the inns differ from this.